Okay. Are you ready to properly get this thing going?
Yeah, I guess so.
Are you probably warmed up? I mean, do you need another warm-up question? Another icebreaker?
No, I think we're all good.
Okay, you sure?
Let's start the show.
Okay.
And start the show.
All right, well, here we go. Yo, Short Box Nation. What's so funny?
Sorry, I just have.
What's so funny?
We've been doing this 4 times, and I'm fantasizing about grabbing your phone and then just taking it and going off rip.
You should do that?
But I'm not gonna.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't do that. It's like do that, but also not do it. That'd be I don't know, kind of rude.
I just want to be like, boom, yo, sure.
I think the fans would appreciate like your version of that. You know what? All right. You know, and we have 2 more episodes to go for this bonus series before you disappear from the show
warning,
forever.
I might be reading later.
You don't know what you want.
Like, all right, before we even start that, we'll start another story. So
another story.
I was that kid that like, I feel like being a teacher is very, very hard. So whenever I go and I'm learning like a subject or anything, or like if I'm in a meeting and you know how the boss, like they're teaching you something and they're like, does anybody have any questions? And there's like, everybody kind of looks around like,
who's going to ask that first question?
Who's going to ask that first question? I'm always the person that's going to ask that first question just to get it out of the way. Mm-hmm. And then also when the teacher's like, can I get a volunteer for reading? And then there's like 5 minutes of just quietness. And you're like, damn, you're like, all right, fuck, I'm going to go. So, I would always read, but it doesn't, just because you always read does not make you good at reading.
Oh, no, sometimes like you set yourself for failure because it's like, man, that kid can't read worth shit.
No.
Why would he volunteer first? I see why, though, to get it out the way. But man,
he can't read for shit.
You know what they say? People remember the first and the last thing, So you're definitely setting yourself up. Why'd you share that story? Was it just to like tell us?
Just to say, like at any point, if I steal this and I start reading,
people, our listeners, are like, holy shit, Drew can't read worth shit.
He can't.
He should probably go back to elementary school.
Yeah, I'm listening to this guy have a stroke on camera.
Damn, that's hilarious. But that's sad, man.
Okay. All right, so back to your reading.
Reading Rainbow, bro. Well, shit, I might as well. That was a good little icebreaker itself. So let me go ahead and
start off with
let me go ahead and redo that again then.
All right, cool.
Yo, Short Box Nation. Welcome back to... I'm sorry. Now I'm thinking about you snatching my phone and reading it terribly, reading the script terribly.
Good.
Oh, man. Short Box Nation, welcome back for the 4th installment of this weekly Moon Knight recap series. Today we'll be discussing the latest and greatest at the time of this recording, which is Moon Knight Ep.4. If you're tuning in for the first time, welcome to the show. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Botter Milligan, and I'm joined by my right-hand man this episode, Andrew Torres.
Woo!
I did that one just for you.
I was hoping for that Andrew Torres.
Ah, damn it. I would move it, but I mean, come on, it's John Cena. I ain't gonna lie. That is such a hard-ass song, but listening to John Cena rap and knowing where he's at in his career now, you're like, ooh, I wonder if this haunts him, Like, if you were to bring this song up, if he would acknowledge it.
I don't know.
No,
I'm very surprised that he hasn't been interviewed by Nardwuar.
I'm surprised, more so surprised that James Gunn has not made a joke of this or referenced it in Peacemaker in any way.
Oh, we got season 2 still.
Oh, you're right. Just imagine like Peacemaker busting in the door with Vigilante and the whole crew and just... And Vigilante looks at him like, what was that, dude?
Evie's like, wow.
Exactly. All right, back to the listeners. It's been a couple of days since this episode, or Moon Knight Ep.4 premiered. So depending on when you're hearing this, spoiler warnings. We'll be talking about important plot points and some nitty-gritty details that might ruin the episode if you haven't watched it yet. I haven't watched it yet. Where was I at? I lost my train of thought. That's one warning. Okay. If you're enjoying our commentary on Wednesday for the rest of the Short Box Nation, this will be more like a rewatch, recap, and commentary rolled in one. But if you want our fresh reactions the same week Moon Knight drops, consider becoming a Patreon subscriber and avoid having to wait a whole week to hear episodes like this. We normally make the video version of this podcast available the same day we record, and the audio version drops a few days before our usual Wednesday release. Support the podcast for as little as $1 and help us keep this thing going and enjoy special perks, rewards, and bragging rights.
Yeah, let us have some more buttons for our fans. More buttons for the fans. More money for the fans. That's what we're going to call this episode.
This studio gets very hot. And we need more fans.
More fans.
Because this is an audio podcast that needs more fans. It
There you
needs
go.
more
fans.
There we go. Wow. I see what you did there.
Thank you.
That's a good little campaign. Help the Shortbox get more fans. And have the noisiest podcast in the fucking world. It's like, yo, I can't even bear to like listen to this show.
Yeah, every episode there's just like more and more fans and people donate.
And this thing, we buy the fans with the little loose piece of paper, whatever the fuck that is.
Dude, I will grab one fan and try to talk through it. Try to get that like robot voice.
Yeah, that's why we need your money, Patreon subscribers, for these
the
ideas.
Fans.
For the fans. All right, before we begin, though, speaking about sponsors and helping this show in meaningful ways at that, not for more fans.
Damn.
I want to thank our sponsor, God, and that's no slight to the Patreon subscribers, for the record. I hope it didn't come across that way.
No slight at all. Get back to what you were saying so I can hype this up.
Okay, all right, done deal. I want to thank our sponsor, Gotham City Limit Comic Shop.
Why don't you have a sound effect for the doom, 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 and then explosions?
By next episode, I'm gonna have that isolated.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Come on, the Batman
I'm
animated series intro.
Sure, I'm just
what am I,
making
a
sure.
rookie?
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you do have a point. I should have a sound. I should have a sound effect for Ben.
Ben, I'm so sorry, man. We're gonna have that fixed post next episode.
You're right. But I want to go ahead and highlight Gotham
Did you
City.
add that sound effect now? Like, let's do a 5-second pause real quick. Then you put the sound effect.
Okay. I will add it in post just for you. But I want to go ahead and highlight Gotham City Limit Comic Shop, who makes it possible for us to bring you and the rest of the Shortbox Nation this episode and more. Gotham City Limit is Jacksonville's premier shop for comics, toys, and collectibles. And even if you don't live in Jax, you can still shop at Gotham by visiting their website or shopping their marketplace on the Whatnot app, both of which are linked in this episode's show notes. Now, if you've been tuning in for the previous 3 Moon Knight recap episodes, you know that me and Drew love to have the episode playing while we discuss and talk about the episode. So we will have the episode pulled up and playing along while we chat. So that means we'll occasionally stop and talk about scenes and important things going on as the episode plays. If you want to watch along with us, fire up that Disney Plus or grab a password from a family and friend before they decide to take this feature away like Netflix is talking about.
People are losing their minds over this.
I dare. Disney Plus does it. Shortbox goes down for a month. It's like, oh, calamity in here. But we're about to press.
What happened? Nobody watched anything.
Yeah. No one wants to pay for their own subscription. But we are about to press play on Moon Knight Episode 4. If you're tuning in via YouTube, I definitely advise watching along for the full unedited version of this commentary episode. The podcast version is usually sometimes edited every now and then. But we're pressing play on the episode in 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
Why don't you ever say the title?
Oh, well, would you like to say it?
Episode 4. The Doom.
The Doom. All right, I promise that'll be the last time. Well, I'm going to say the last time.
I'm looking at the time. Dude, 21 minutes to get this introduction.
Ooh, all right, well, while we're in recap mode.
Slow box.
Yeah, while we're in recap mode, let's go ahead and get warmed up here. What did you think about the episode in total?
Oh, this episode was great. I watched it 3 times. Definitely left me wanting more.
When is that phrase? It left me wanting more. When does it never not have you wanting more?
That's very true. That's a very stupid phrase. I'm sorry that I said it.
I didn't mean for that to make you feel bad.
No,
it's just a phrase that I hear people say.
No, I get it. It's cool.
Well, let me ask this.
Just
Adam,
display your power of words over me. Go ahead.
I promise I didn't
What
mean to
else
sound like
fancy
an
words you got here?
Oh, that boy went to college, huh? All right, well, let me rephrase that. Adam,
rephrase.
Adam.
One of them words.
Okay, man. All right. Out of the 4 episodes we've been treated to so
Which
far,
one has left me wanting the most?
I guess where does this rank among the episodes?
Number 4. Straight up number 4.
So this has been your least favorite episode?
Yeah, there's some other stuff that happened that was just really, really good. Now, all the stuff that happened here was very, very exciting. But there's some stuff in this episode that me and you were joking about that kind of falls apart in the sense of all right, what does this mean? What does this mean?
Well, this episode just so we're past the recap. And
it starts off upside down.
And I was going to ask you,
Black Panther.
Has it? Yeah. Has every episode started with an upside down shot? I don't think so, but I
No.
know it's like a predominant like shot they use throughout the series. But you know, upon rewatch, you're like, oh well, that makes sense because this episode definitely turns things on its head. And like I told you last episode, I don't trust this dude. I don't trust
the one guy that keep going like, yeah. And he's like, what's his name?
I should have had it, but I don't have it. I know he's an avatar for one of the more powerful Egyptian gods, but the fact that he's always there's something like kind of non-trustworthy.
Yeah,
about
and there's
him.
more than 9. Those
it's
things
like
over
so
there.
that's where the rest of the Iliad went.
It's like, oh, a lot of these guys are just like straight chilling. Like, what?
I don't know about straight chilling. I feel like a lot of the Egyptian guys that they've mentioned or we haven't seen probably haven't been found or awakened or probably don't have avatars or I don't know. Just there's something going on, especially with that guy. Now Khonshu gets to hang out in purgatory. I don't know, dude. But for real, this was your least favorite episode?
Not my least favorite, but you like as far as like ranking goes, like where does it go? Like that first episode to me was really good. Second, like nothing has just been disappointing. It hasn't been ramping up. It's just been like slowing down. To me, I think the third and fourth and fifth episode to me are definitely going to be slower in the sense of like not a lot of story. I mean, we're going to get a lot of story, but to me, it's not going to be as exciting as getting that first episode off.
Yeah.
And this episode's just good for a lot of reasons, but it's not my favorite episode.
Okay.
But let's get
That's
back
fair.
into it.
No, that's fair. I think
What about you?
I would have to say
The suit didn't show up. That's why I'm like, yo, you didn't have no suit in here. I don't want like.
You're like, yo, no Moon Knight?
Yeah.
No Moon Knight. It's just called Moon Knight.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I was like, yo, you are not on my top already.
I gotta say, I would almost say episode 3 has still been my favorite, but this one is definitely up there, man. Like a lot happens in this short amount of time, and it leaves even though I made fun of you before, it leaves me wanting more because of how many questions you leave off with it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like they kind of throw you for a loop, not just once, but almost twice, if not 3 times in this, right? Like
3 times, huh?
yeah, not only does Mark get, a shot at the end and wakes up in an asylum. So it's like, okay, Mark gets shot. That's like a big wow moment.
Not once, but twice.
Yeah. Harrow was like, I got to make sure.
Yeah.
There's 2 bullets. I might as well use 2 bullets.
Might as well.
But Mark gets shot. Mark wakes up in an insane asylum. And then if that wasn't enough, he also gets to physically meet his other personalities. Mm-hmm. And then he meets a hippo. It's like, how much more how many more loops are you going to throw me in this one episode?
Yeah.
In the last, 15 minutes?
And you're like, all right,
Yeah.
here you go.
It's a lot. It keeps you on your toes, and it definitely gives you a lot. It leaves you with a lot more questions.
The episode starts off really strong. Besides
yeah.
that guy doing the circle, when we
Dude.
meet Layla,
She is always doing something badass. And I'm gonna tell you this about the desert. I would hate to have enemies in the desert because you can't hide in the desert.
yo, I used to tell people like, yo, you were lost in the desert. I'm like, that's not so bad. Now that I'm older, I'm like, oh, that would suck. Like, yo, it's dark. There's
Well, I mean,
nothing
imagine
around.
having someone chase after you in the desert and you're trying to hide. You don't really got many options.
You would have to use shadows.
And I
like, try to go
definitely
down.
know for a fact I'm not quick enough on my toes to know to make these maneuvers that Layla has.
Oh yeah.
And throw a
She's like, "What's in the car?" I'm like, "I don't even know." I was like, "I don't even know where we parked." She's like, "I don't even know where we parked." She's like, "It's back there." I'm like, "All right."
yeah, Layla knows what she's a badass, man. And I think you made a good point prior to us hitting record is that this episode is just as much about Layla as it is you
And
learning.
I don't like it because it's that.
Oh, is that why I should least favorite episode?
No,
You pig.
I'm so sorry. But to your point, this is like Layla's episode. Like first thing we see is besides the Khonshu stuff like that, she's basically kicking ass, taking names, and helping Steven out.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that we had discussed before the recording was what I liked was this entire the first 3 episodes, Steven is constantly waking up, not knowing what's happening, and you as a viewer is also like, what is going on? But this is like, oh no. When he's asleep, this is what's happening.
Dude, and here's I also feel like you are watching Steven become way more confident, and he's also kind of fighting for his life,
Yeah.
right?
Listen, consistency gives you results. You go to the gym every day, you're gonna see something. So.
Yeah, the fact that Steven's like, no, we had a deal. Mark is no longer going to be around, and technically he is taking over Mark's. Well, this is and it is such an interesting way to try to say this and consider that, he is suffering from DID.
This is not how they portrayed in the comic books. It's never like this.
Well, I mean, just from the get-go, right? From the beginning of the series, Steven has progressed so much, right? Like, this is not the same Steven that we met in episode 1 where he's like kind of a bumbling idiot. Like, he's really he's kind of being accustomed to this life. I think he's trying to win over Layla a little bit too.
Mm-hmm. I like when he tells...
Like, he's focused. That's what I'm trying to get at. He's a focused Steven.
Yeah, and he tells Mark, he's like, what are you going to do? He's like, listen, he's like, it's muscle memory. He's like, I know how to do this. It's just I got to figure out, like, how this body knows how to do it.
Now that he knows that he shares, a body and a life, and he's got this double life, it's been kind of, interesting to watch him, like, try to reclaim that and being firm about, like, look, I got to get back to my life, too. Or I need to get back to my life. I don't really care what you got going on. And if it just so happens that, me and Layla kick it off, then we kick it off. Also, that goat, the goat that just passed by, and this is one of the freakiest looking fucking goats ever. I would
Standing on a rock
I would even pass that rock away. I'd be like, nah, that goat is cross-eyed. It's possessed.
My favorite thing about this episode is Mark is dressed how you think you should dress when you go to the desert. And Layla is just like, nah, like just...
She's like, I'm going to wear black and
some
dark
pants.
colors.
Yeah, and that's it. And Mark's like, what do you want? I want a jacket. I want a backpack. I want like a long flowy jacket. Like, I get that's what you're trying to make him look like.
I didn't get the cinematographer's name for this episode, but I did want to mention that I thought a lot of these shots were, especially like the wide shots, the establishing shots, looked really good. My only gripe maybe with this episode is once we get in the cave, granted they're in a cave, so
it looks like Universal Studios,
it's
Islands of Adventure.
Well, not that. It's just like it's a really dark episode the whole time, which made it a little difficult. I don't know if you know anything about tunes. I know. It sounds stupid to complain, but I will admit it was just kind of hard to make out some of the scenes, like especially when Layla is fucking fighting for her life with that the mummy priest, and I think maybe that was supposed to build upon that like kind of fear and tension, but it was definitely hard as shit to watch itself.
Like, where'd she go? Yeah, this is the best part where they're basically talking about
Mark and Steven having like these conversations
where they're basically fighting each other.
Oscar Isaac getting to act into a mirror for 10 minutes straight. Some of the most compelling I think moments too
so I mean at this point if this was like a rom-com between two dudes trying to fight over for the love of their wife, who's winning for you? Is it Steven or Mark?
Yo, man, Mark, it's Mark's wife in life.
Very
like
true.
Technically,
Very true.
The way I understand it, I'm viewing this is Mark is like the prime
Mark,
character, right?
He's prime.
And Steven is the identity that kind of like came that showed up second, right?
Yeah.
Like Mark is prime. Steven comes after
Steven
that. Steven was like,
but Steven doesn't believe it. Steven believes that he has a life, he has
exactly,
a mother,
and I mean,
everything.
and that is thus DID, right? Like these separate personalities are technically like separate people with separate personalities and in this case lives, like literally lives. So, and that's where like that character, those character moments feel so like compelling. It's like, man, yeah, who do you side with? Like you kind of feel for both of them. Like both of them have a life, but Mark, man, he's kind of been through some shit. So Mark all day. Steven's kind of been perpetrating.
Yeah. It's funny because like Mark, you only get to see the murderous Mark side and the protector side. Like Mark like he just basically he only shows up.
Okay, real quick, I would debate that because I don't think we've really seen Mark get his hands dirty. Because I'm starting to think that I know in the first episode, when Steven first meets Harrow and meets Khonshu, like, and he keeps coming in and out, he wakes up and there's like blood on his hands and things. I'm starting to think maybe that wasn't Mark that did all that. I mean, possibly, yeah, because Mark's got the rap sheet, right? He was a mercenary. He knows how to get down, but...
And like in the third episode, you see him clearly fighting and beating up everybody. That's Mark in the suit that's running around.
But he didn't kill anyone. Like, even he was surprised by the level of gore and violence that he woke up to. And, I mean, they've been kind of hinting at this third personality the whole time, who is clearly a lot more violent. But Mark
is a mercenary. That's in your job description.
It's like the boy that cried.
It's like, what's a mercenary? They kill for money. Oh, okay.
Now, he can't be too bad. I know that sounds foolish, but What was your reaction watching Layla and Steven in this case kiss?
I was laughing. Obviously, I was just giggling to myself because at first, Steven understands that this is Marcus' wife. Like he's not opposed to like he's like okay, but in his head he's like, oh, they're getting a divorce. Bet. Like he's like, Mark and Layla getting a divorce. Cool.
I'm gonna slide in.
But Steven.
But watching Mark summon enough willpower to punch Steven is one of the funniest scenes probably
the best
in the
scene
whole
ever,
series.
yo. I was like, give him like, yo, best comedic performance. Give it to the Mark Spector, not Steven. Mark.
Because Mark tells you, when he explains to Steven like the amount of willpower it takes to even be present. So it's like, damn, how much willpower did he use to punch himself? Even the Green Lantern Ring's like, God damn. That's a lot of willpower, dude.
Dude, I cannot stop. I can't focus on this 'cause I knew this joke was gonna hit
You
as
wanna
hard
how-
as his fist. I knew, like I swear, it was so good.
Can I tell you how dorky I was when they drop into this cave and they see these Panther statues? And that's the thing about Marvel sometimes, or the MCU. Sometimes I'm like, are they trolling us? Like they know fanboys and the YouTube guys are going to point out like 65 Easter eggs you didn't know. Those are actually, Black Panther statues. I did have a moment of like, Panther statues?
This is interesting.
Now y'all making it too easy.
100%. But like later on, we'll figure out like who those statues belong to and what they're there.
Oh, that reveal was crazy. I'm gonna tell you this much. I won't admit to know a bunch about history, much less Egyptian history at that. But when Stephen says, stumbles upon Alexander the Great's tomb, I let out a yell like I knew who he was. No, not knew who he was, like I knew his whole story. I was like, whoa, Alexander the Great?
Like that meme where the guy's like, oh.
But it did cause me to end up looking up, like, Alexander the Great, but then also learning, like, there's a bunch of tombs we haven't discovered. Like, there are long lost tombs.
Yeah, we are here just looking for dead bodies.
Yeah.
So why are they lost? Why are
like,
these teams lost? They're just lost in the desert?
I think people just, have forgotten the locations. I think, like, maybe the location themselves have just never been known or lost. Because you got to remember, like, pharaohs were, they were buried with a lot of gold. They were everyone that took care of him and helped in the mummification process.
The whole family
was buried with him.
Yeah.
And
That's how the season finale. Like, yo, if Kim Kardashian was back in like 300 BC, it's just like the season finale would be like the family finale.
Yeah.
Like, yo, you're coming too. Like, what do you mean? He's like, yo, Grandpa's dead. Everybody's coming. Like, what?
So I say that to say that they were meant to throw off any like grave robbers. Like these pyramids did have like hidden tunnels.
That's crazy that they built a fake pyramid just so they can build a real pyramid.
They throw the haters off. So we mentioned back to what's going on. We mentioned that this seemed like a very convenient scene, and the scene in question is Mark figuring out that the layout of the pyramid.
No, Steven, I'm sorry.
The layout of the pyramid and where Amit's tomb possibly is by using the Eye of Horus. Just seemed very convenient because I didn't feel like, it just seemed like he kind of pulled it out of thin air.
Here's the thing. When have you ever used something like that in real life?
You're right.
Yeah, I'm like, I'd be eating a burger and be like, wait a minute. Hold on. I was like, ketchup, mustard, and then just like basically go off. I'm like,
and you don't like ketchup and mustard? Pythagorean theorem.
Yeah, man, that's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, this is way still like he did 3 twirls and then he goes,
wait a minute.
She's like, wow, there's like a whole bunch of entrances. He's like, yeah, entrances. 6. What's 6? Like, eyes.
It's like, damn, Steven, you're telling me that you're this smart and you're just a fucking gift shop worker?
For real.
Get out of here. Get out. You're a waste of talent.
You should be giving these tours.
That's why your mom keeps calling you. You're a failure, Steven. You're a gift shop tour. But, I mean, that aside, that's just a minor gripe I noticed.
Yeah, and you see, well, okay, so we've been talking about Steven, we've been talking about Mark.
Layla?
What do you feel about
Mark?
Layla? Layla has accepted the fact that Steven and Mark are 2 different people.
And am I foolish to think that maybe Layla's also started to
fall for Steven?
Yeah, I think, she kissed him.
Mm-hmm. She kissed Steven. She
definitely got emotions for him. Yeah. The way she talks to Mark is, and that's been fun to watch too, not only it's watching Oscar Isaac portray these 2 characters in very unique ways, but also the chemistry between not only Layla and Mark, but also his interactions with like Harrow. Because I realized in this episode you don't see, I don't think you get a lot of interactions between Harrow and Mark. It's usually through Steven.
Yeah.
Right? Like they
Because
have
he's always asking, he's like, can I speak to Mark? I would like to speak to Mark, please.
which leads me, and I'm getting a little ahead of what's going on the screen, but that's fine. Which leads me to believe that I think Mark, because he is, you know, he is the avatar for Khonshu, that he possibly has, he definitely has something I think Harrow wants. Because at the end of this episode, when Harrow is you know, the psychologist, he ends up bringing up a lot of like, he brings up his sanity a lot. He also asks them about like, you know, to make an honest assessment of himself, to like go back to the beginning. Like he just, the way he structures that conversation makes me think that there's something that he wants Mark to spill or say about like Khonshu, or maybe his origin or how he got the powers, that he needs in order to summon Ahmet.
Yeah, and then he also, right when he kills him, the thing he tells him, like right when he shoots him, he's like, I won't help anybody that
Can't
won't
help themselves.
And he's like, all right.
So we're about to see the, I think they call them the Heka priests, the sorcerers of the time, the folks that, the priests that helped to mummify the pharaoh, and were also buried with them.
The doorman.
Well, really, the doorman, the bodyguard, because they're the ones that, you know, I'm assuming that's what Harrow's men are shooting at. Is these are these priests throughout the temple?
Yeah, because throughout the entire episode,
pyramid.
you just see like you walk up on like a bunch of blood and guts, and you're like, what's going on?
Shit, when they walk into Harrow's camp, there's no one there, which kind of leads you to believe either they're all, you know, inside the pyramid looking for Ahmet's tomb, or they're all dead. I mean, either or, but there's clearly something going on to where they're having trouble finding their way, and they're running into all these traps or priests or whatever it may be. They're facing resistance, and luckily Steven and Layla, you know, they just got to get through one, you know, dead zombie priest, and they're fine. But I brought up the priest thing because I immediately thought of the clickers from The Last of Us.
Oh yeah, when they're making all those sounds and like they're just trying to be really quiet. 100%. Which that show is going to be coming out soon.
Oh, that's right. We get to see Pedro Pascal again. There goes that detective
That
too.
dude is
Did you
just
catch
the
that?
ultimate escort. What did you just say?
No.
when he brings up this body.
Well, that's the body of the one of the detectives from episode 2.
Oh, okay, but like one of like Harold's teammates. Well, what's really crazy is like they don't show any blood and guts, but the way that the scene is filmed, where
Yeah.
like you just see their faces and your brain already knows what's happening. Like
Yeah. Which I think is a useful element when trying to portray like horror stuff, right? Like sometimes it's better to. Now, granted, you did see a body, kind of seen like an intestine in that
yeah,
shot,
it looked like Laffy Taffy.
but it's all, to me. This is all, the minute this from here until like about when Layla, you know, throws off the priest and fights off the priest.
Indiana Jones.
Oh, I'll Indiana Jones, but also really the Mummy vibes. I know we keep bringing up the Mummy.
Oh yeah, obviously because we're in Egypt.
Yeah, and they're fighting a literal mummy kind of priest.
100%.
What did we talk about? Like the day this episode dropped, I was asking you, like, you said that you've rewatched like the Mummy, right? Like
Oh yeah,
1 and 2 and all
the
that.
Brendan Fraser mummies.
I'm curious what the spike in streaming, if there's been any spike in streaming for like the Mummy
movies?
or Indiana Jones.
Oh, there would have to be. Like, after these episodes, you would definitely have that wonder of adventure.
Well, our, you know, good friend of the show, Blake, Blake hit me up and made a good point. He said this gave him big Uncharted vibes, and I definitely felt that in the beginning watching Layla, fend for herself. But and Uncharted has always been kind of like, you know, the globe trotting, you know, antiquity, you know, hunting down rare treasures.
Yeah, but the puzzles took a little bit.
Oh,
a little bit to figure out. Like Steven was just like,
Yeah, true.
yes, and blah blah blah.
True, very true.
I'm complaining. I'm so sorry. Like puzzles are hard.
No, but this definitely felt like a love letter to Indiana Jones and the Mummy.
Did you
Big
think a
time.
vampire was going to show up?
This actually, I'll tell you this much. This was probably my favorite scene among, if not my favorite, definitely number 2 of the whole episode, is watching Layla traverse this very in this shot right here, like that wide shot of showing you like how far she's got to walk across this chasm, how deep it is, even though she climbs out of it pretty quickly. For the record, she uses the mummy's body as like a pillow to land on, but she climbs out pretty quick. But this scene was absolutely a lot of fun to watch. And I complained about how dark it is, but maybe I had a glare on my TV because this is not too bad.
I would just imagine that it's just dark inside that place.
Bro, it's a fucking cave.
It is definitely
it's
a cave.
absolutely
No, it's
dark.
actually a pyramid.
You're
that
right.
no
You're right.
longer-
You're right. It's a tunnel.
It's
You're
a
right.
tomb. A secret hidden tomb.
Mm.
Which not a lot of booby traps. They just basically was like, we're gonna hire some
We're just gonna make a very thin
six babysitters and that's it.
We're gonna make a very thin sidewalk, and yeah, the 6 scary babysitters.
Yeah, I think me and you were just anxiously waiting to when Harold shows up and just starts talking shit. That dude is such a hater.
It's not even that, but he's so smooth with it and annoying.
100%. And you know, he learned everything he did from Denzel Washington. Straight up. I'm gonna find out they're gonna tie these movies. Like, Harold, what did you do after Conchu? Like, I was a cop. Like, oh,
Yeah,
really?
that's
Like,
funny as shit.
like, hey,
Or,
really?
yeah, or even beforehand, he was a cop first, and this is what he did after training day.
Just 100. Like, yeah. Only because like he has that Denzel Washington fit. Like, anytime he shows up and he has that cane that he just. And he be sitting down like, cool.
Oh man, if a hero sits down, you know that he's going to
Just spit something.
he's gonna drop some jewels, and he's gonna make you feel a way about like your family. Like he's the therapist that makes you want to go fight your family.
Oh yeah.
Or
And
your
then
loved
I
one.
love when he yells
Also,
at her.
real quick, this scene. Get back to
This
this.
part was the weak
love-
scene.
What?
Oh, okay, go
You
ahead.
didn't like that? Like watching her get snatched.
Okay,
and
she
then-
gets snatched. She
That
makes
was a
a
cool
face.
scene.
She makes a face. You don't hear anything, and then all of a sudden she has his arm. And then he just basically.
Layla is a badass.
No,
they don't
she's
have
a
to
badass.
show
I'm
you
not
everything.
I'm not denying the fact that she's a badass. It's just like the faces that she makes. It's like, oh, she got grabbed, but she's like, you're not. I don't know. Me, I'd be screaming and yelling
It's a
the
weak-
entire time.
I'm sorry. Just because you would scream, don't mean Layla
Yeah,
needs
it's very
to
true. You're
be
right.
fucking begging
I'm
for her
sorry.
life.
Yeah, right.
To
Layla
be-
over here just killing
honestly,
people.
after
asking names
watching
later.
after watching Layla handle herself with this mummy priest, I'm kind of of the mindset that maybe Layla should be the avatar for Khonshu. You know,
100.
she would have wrapped this whole series up in
No problem.
episodes.
Yeah. Like I feel like Conchu's like, go break his neck, and then like she's like, all right.
To me,
Runs over there.
I think I want to see more of her because she's been one of the more stronger like female co-leads or co-leads at that.
Yes,
You know, like we've seen like a
she has no powers.
no powers, just straight action. Even though she's maybe gonna start being, she should be above she should be well above her head, right? Like the things going on are well above her head and her pay level, but she's holding her own. But more so because she's just kind of fun to watch on screen too. Her acting is great. I don't know if she does her own stunts, but her action is believable.
Yeah, because you think she's just and this is probably actually to go back to your scene. That scene is probably one of my favorite scenes. Like I
Where Layla screams in pain.
Well, not that. It's just like I think it goes in the terms of like acting. Obviously, they didn't go into a real cave, but like she just got done fighting. She is basically like she had to pull herself up, pull herself up to where like she almost got pushed off of a cliff. Traverses back over, and then she basically just like yells because it's like she's in pain.
Dude,
and then she's like all right, I gotta get up, and then homeboy's just waiting for her.
Yeah, and it's like you didn't say anything. You didn't want to help. You didn't want to do anything. But now you want to tell me about my dead father and how my husband was tied to that. But to give credit to that scene, I want to also mention the score throughout that scene and really this episode in general enhances it enhances the viewing pleasure, I think, of this episode. Like it adds suspense where it needs to, gives you a sense of like mystery at times. So yeah, the score has been great.
Yeah.
Which go ahead.
No, you were gonna say something.
I was gonna say, which reminds me a lot of like, I always thought Indiana Jones had a great score, and I can't remember who did the score.
I think
of
John
that.
Williams did.
Probably, yeah. Actually, it absolutely is. Can't believe I almost forgot that. But they definitely pay tribute to having a good score in this. But as you were saying,
Okay, so now we got a little bit more information in the episode, which I thought was really funny. Is Steven comes in, and he has that realization. He's like, "Oh, this is Macedonian," and then from there, knowing he's like, "No way, no way."
I will say I have left every episode learning something new and historical. I feel like my history teacher would be proud.
he's like, I've been teaching you this. Like, what? I needed guns and whistles and mark spectra to get you to pay attention. I'm like, yes, you did.
Harold is he's scary in the sense of how calm and how he can use the truth to his whim to cause like dissension. You know, like he could have easily just I almost feel like he's got everything in control.
But how does he know this information?
That I am curious of that. It's like, well, why isn't he looking for the tune? Why isn't he worried that maybe Steven would find it already? Like, why go to Layla to plant this seed? You know, like, is he playing a long game, or does he find satisfaction in disrupting, you know, people's lives like this?
Well, yeah, I think in the sense of what he's trying to do is he probably realizes that he needs to go over there on that side, but they can't just get there. So he's like, all right,
yeah,
let me talk to you real quick. Buy me some time.
But he's a planner. He knows that he knows that they'll probably find this, but I'm going to make sure that the road and the relationship between them is filled with friction going forward.
Yeah, I've already started it. He's like, I took his job. Let's see what I can do to his family.
Which this whole sequence of her learning about, Mark's involvement and her father's passing is definitely a big callback to the comic books, which is pretty comic book accurate. She wasn't Layla in the comic books, and I'm having a brain fart right now, but Mark's love interest, or Layla's comic book equivalent, I think it's Marlene, something with an M. Her father does get killed by Mark's partner, mercenary partner, Bushman. And Bushman ends up leaving Mark for dead. And I could have sworn I would have been a betting man to say that this was the episode we would have got a flashback. I think I said that in last week's recap, but they didn't. And I doubt, and I'm starting to think maybe we won't get a full recap.
No, I don't think. Yeah, we probably won't get any flashback because
I mean, what are they going to show?
They give you all the narrative here, where he's basically telling him, he's like,
they give it to us in exposition.
Yeah, 100%.
Because it's like, what else do we need to see? We already know that we know the story. He was working with a partner who got greedy and killed everyone, and Mark's been living with this guilt his whole life.
Yeah, and when it finally comes out, that's what's. Oh man, and we've jumped already. Because the scene that I love the most, actually one of my favorite scenes in this is when no, we didn't miss it. It's when Layla hits Steven and she's like, "Can you hear me?" And then Steven doesn't say shit. He just basically, Mike, I want to talk to you.
I actually wrote a note saying Steven left that body so fast. He didn't put up an ounce of resistance. Because Steven's not stupid.
He goes, Mark, I got Layla on the phone for you. I'm gonna transfer the call.
No.
Like, here, tell her I'm asleep. Tell her I'm asleep.
How much money would it take to get you to put your hand inside of a mummy's mouth?
I was thinking.
Is there any amount of money?
No, I mean, yeah, yeah. If there's listen, they put gold inside their thing, and I was like, all right, let's go for it. I was just thinking to myself, I was like, ooh, what does it feel like? He rips open the jaw, and it's like, ooh, it could be dusty, could be spiderwebby.
It is the most dust you've probably ever touched. Oh, imagine putting your hand in a pile of dust. Like a pile of dust and old twigs.
All right. You know what I'm going to do? My car is really dirty, so I'm going to basically stick my hand underneath, if I dropped a can of Coke underneath the seat. There you go. That's basically what he was doing.
Do you think Layla knew Mark's involvement this whole time, and this was just more so an affirmation or confirmation?
100%. We should have brought this in the last episode, because one of the questions I want to ask is, she knows. She has an idea. Mark, what's your job? I'm a mercenary. What, you kill people for money? Yeah. And I deal in antiquities and all this other stuff. It's like, oh, okay, cool. My dad died one time. No, you don't say? How did he die? He's like, oh, he was out.
She's like, where were you the night of Thursday?
I was home, girl.
Yeah, really? Yeah. Okay.
And she's like, what was your name, Layla? I never said my name. Be like, shit. All right.
Oh, man, but Harold is sick, man. Just giving her all of this. Yeah, he gets a sick enjoyment out of it, man.
This has I can't tell this story, but I will tell the story offline.
Okay. I like this.
But
I can't wait to stop now.
I can't stop recording just for that. So we get the. How are you supposed to release these things?
Amit.
How are we like? Do you
Yo,
like? It's
okay.
like a Pokemon ball. Do you throw it and just like, yo, Arma, I choose you?
Well, let's work it in reverse. We know that it took the Ennead to seal Khonshu, and that seemed to be like a big a big display of power. So it's got to be another big display of power to awaken one, right? Like you would almost maybe imagine that he would have to get the Ennead's involvement or something, right? Or maybe do the reverse of what sealed her Amet in the beginning, which Khonshu knows. Matter of fact, Khonshu said, in episode 3, I remember that night. So maybe that is what Harrow needs out of Mark. I don't know. That might be something, but I think Mark is the key to maybe summoning Amet, in my opinion.
Do you think it's or the third personality?
Oh,
I know you said the third personality can either be like Jake Lackley or Khonshu.
I'm starting to let go of that Khonshu theory only because
he doesn't have the suit anymore.
Yeah, he doesn't have the powers anymore, and you would almost feel like he would have some sort of remnants of Khonshu. But maybe you're onto something where,
And the only reason
maybe that third personality is the key to maybe unlocking this, and then Harrow needs Mark to like confront that.
Okay.
Because clearly that third personality is violent. It's angry. It's something's going. It's a mystery. So like it's shrouded in a lot of mystery that we don't know, and maybe Mark suppressed that for a reason. And Steven is kind of like an easier identity to control. So that's why he's a parent. I'm not sure. I'm kind of going all over the place. I don't want to miss this interaction between Mark and Layla. This show manages to find. I think the pacing is really interesting, man. You go from, Layla fighting a fucking zombie, or I'm sorry, a mummy priest, to her finding out,
She had 5 minutes of Harrow.
Yeah, 5 minutes of Harrow. And then now we're getting another, the payoff, like that emotional confrontation. Yeah. And then it's going to go right into...
Okay, you fucked up when your girl comes straight up and just pushes your chest. Like, you're like, oh, I got to listen.
In the middle of a pyramid,
and then, yeah, and the fact that you're
people
like...
with guns.
People are guns are shooting, and she's like, no, I want to talk now. And you're like, oh, we can't talk about this? Like, can we talk about it? He's like, yo, let's go. She's like, no. But like you said, she knows what it is, but she's like, no, I want the, like, truth.
Yeah, she needed to hear it.
And, it's definitely like, yo, I feel like for Mark, it's a tough decision. Like, yo, it's one of those, like, it's probably a hard decision for him. It's not an easy decision for him. Like, you don't know, like, he could be a mercenary, but he can be like a non-violent mercenary. That got a little bit too deep. Gets this dude murdered. And he even said, he's like, yo, I try to save their lives.
I think he was definitely foolish. I think he got in over his head, thinking that like he had things under control. And then obviously, his partner took things to the extreme.
Yeah. And then the thing is, like, he sees Layla, probably wants to tell her, like, hey, but then ends up just falling for her.
I wonder how much of that guilt. Yeah, for sure.
And then she said the same thing too. She's like, you had a guilty conscience. That's why. That's the only reason why you're here is because of your guilt.
I wonder how much of that guilty conscience is the reason why. Maybe that was the final push over the edge. I'm sure Khonshu had a lot to do with his mind splitting. But it also sounds like he's always had like that underlying DID, and maybe he had it under control, but then met Khonshu. That pushed him over the edge on top of like having this guilt, and thus he created, or the Steven identity spawned off of that, who is not violent, who has all these attributes and traits that reflect like Layla,
What if you find out that Mark's not really Mark, but Mark is Jack, and Mark has been locked up this entire time in the third personality?
I mean, that could be a realistic.
He's like, which one of y'all touched my wife?
I'm being both. Yeah. And
Jack pointing at Steven like, yo,
that third one could do it too.
Sorry.
And
bro, this scene.
Oh, Harrow shooting just point blank.
But that's
all that peace talk out the fucking way.
But that's what's great. That's to me is another like just surprise? A shocking factor. Is like, oh, dude, he's using a gun for this entire episode. You've seen that he has people that will kill for him, die for him, and he's like, nah, I got this.
I got this one.
6-shooter.
And you're like, man, he hasn't used the cane in a minute. Like, you could have easily used the cane or some sort of like,
like we're your werewolves. Like some of your werewolves.
It shows me like his desperation. Like clearly he needs Mark for something. And I wonder at this point, and I don't want to gloss over how beautiful like this like kind of like scene is, right? Where
that's me. Mark like when I take a bath and I'm like, well,
check this out. Look how shallow that water is.
Yeah.
Right.
But he falls all the way in.
Shit, he
in the
falls in
episode.
reverse and then got into the light and essentially gets reborn. And you know, in that
I can't tell you for a
the
fact.
hospital
Like
scene.
I've never been in an Egyptian pool, but I would assume that's what it feels like.
oh,
Just so
that's
relaxing.
That's a whole new. That's a whole new.
This is like Hades like,
definition of infinity pool.
and he falls, and you're like, oh shit. So you're thinking like this is the end of the episode,
Yeah.
but clearly it's not. And then you get like a nice little
Yeah.
moon. We didn't think we were gonna
This
see.
is kind
a
of
moon.
like a surreal moment right here, right? Like, you know, we see him fall into some shallow water, but maybe this is his brain's way of like kind of like saving himself. Because I'm kind of the mindset that either could all be in his mind. This could be a trap of Heroes or one of the gods. Maybe Hero had his men pick him up, and this is like some sort of a mind game that he's playing with him in some regard.
Mysterio. We have Mysterio. Jake Gyllenhaal said
Jake
that he's
Gyllenhaal.
always wanted to be in the scene
True,
with.
true. But I also wonder if maybe this is something that that one of the gods, you know, maybe Layla finds the body, takes him to one of the gods of the Enneads, and they're helping him repair his mind. And this is like him having to fully confront that guilt in his past to go forward. I think Cesar brought this up in our Moon Knight comic spotlight. He was like, you know, there's going to be an episode where all three of them personalities are going to meet, and they're going to have to get over their differences to realize, hey, we got to work together to get over this.
You're like, if the Ninja Turtles can do it, we can do it too. And those guys are 4. We're 3. We're better than that.
But from here throughout the rest of this episode, they set the stage. I think the payoff is so fun. Like they set the stage in the case of his sanity. Like they bring his sanity into question so well. Like all the clues and the evidence that they provide to convince you he's crazy. Like the movie he watches, right? So it explains like, oh, that's where he got the Stephen Grant idea. All
The
of these
one guy
people.
the guy that's talking to the bingo is the guy that you see in the episode that Steven's always talking to.
Yeah, the statue guy.
Yeah.
His boss is here with him as well. The two individuals that are handling out like the handlers. I'll just call them the handlers. They're the 2 detectives that he ran into. So
Everybody
it's like,
that you've seen so far in the show, this is, and like, you know, I feel like it's Mysterio now. And I'm like, now I'm thinking about
Yeah, you heard it here
Mysterio's,
first.
Mysterio's behind this.
Mysterio's gonna show up like. Got him.
Bro. It's
Yeah.
Mysterio. I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Mysterio was right.
But I mean, even down to
Mysterio
like
was
the
right.
small details, like the drawing of the bird being Khonshu, the cupcakes, the goldfish. It's in this short. I don't even think this is a 5-minute sequence here, but this whole little panning is like boom, 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 and it's got you. Yeah, when I first seen this, I was like, oh shit, they're doing it. They're doing it, Peter. You're doing it.
He's crazy.
But they're literally taking this straight from the Jeff Lemire and Greg Smallwood Moon Knight comic book series, which, I mean, it's no surprise because at least for comic fans, I think we were all waiting for this moment, or we knew they would reference this. I mean, they were very clear in their inspirations and what they were, pulling from.
Like they were clear with their intentions of the comic book.
Yeah.
We're going to take it out.
So if you've ever read that run, like a lot of this is familiar, where Mark is in an asylum with the personalities and like everyone that's ever showed up in the comic books, and you start wondering like, damn, this has all been in his mind. He's made up these characters based on these people he's met in this asylum, and they do it so well here, man. What was your first reaction to like seeing all this? Like, were you pretty tripped out, or were you like, okay, I see where they're going?
No, immediately I got really excited because one of my favorite TV shows from FX is Legion. And it gave me, Legion does that so well. Legion is such a psychological thriller, and it takes place in a mental institution. So you're dealing with like what's real and what's not. So I got very excited to see what they were going to do, but also at the same time I was like, all right, now I'm understanding the structure. Like, here we are. Like, this is going to be is he crazy or not so crazy? What's going to go on?
And that's what I meant by like, you get so much in this episode. Like, first half of it, Uncharted, Indiana Jones, The Mummy, Adventure,
And then this one, Cuckoo's Nest,
and
Green Mile.
Exactly. What's that Leonardo DiCaprio movie?
Shutter Island.
Shutter Island, right? And then at the very
that
end,
movie does a good job of messing with you because you're like, I don't know was it real or who's in on it?
yeah, I immediately thought of that among other movies when we got to this scene here. But you get this, and then at the very end, they give you sci-fi. They give you a sci-fi cable TV
Like
movie
Twisted
with that
Twisted.
hippo.
You're like, oh my god.
And you know what? One other thing they definitely pull pretty well from the comic is that in the comic book, his psychiatrist is I think like Dr. Reed Met or something like that, but he sees her as Ahmet as well. Like she's supposed to represent like Ahmet, but it's Khonshu fucking with him in the comic books. But the fact that Harrow plays that role is like, damn. Of course, Harrow would be the psychologist in this because he's been doing this the whole time. He's been getting in his head the whole series.
Can we also? I would like to back up a little bit and add some of the stuff. Mark, when he wakes up, or not when he wakes up, the first thing he's looking for is Steven.
Yeah,
Like he's just like, yo, Steven, like like not like, oh, it's out of my head. It's like he's gone. He's like, Steven, where are you? Like, what's going on right now?
I think he does that because it's like if Steven is here, then I know.
I'm not dead or crazy.
Isn't that like a?
Isn't that great? Like,
ironic?
yo,
That's ironic,
that's
right?
ironic. You're like,
It's
yo,
like-
Steven's here. I'm not crazy.
Yeah, if I hear the voice in my head, I know that I haven't been making this.
And then you're like, all right, and this guy's trying to talk to you, and I'm telling you right now, like,
I know this speech is gonna come back around. I know that there's something, and it's the third time I've watched this, and I'm still like finding things in this speech that I'm like, the way that he emphasizes like, being honest of your situation and how he's always like, Mark, you're distracting yourself. How he's always trying to have him focus makes me think that there is something that Mark has within his memory or mind that Harrow needs.
100%. This scene's actually really good. I know that like I can get kind of like stuck in the scene is because obviously he's drugged. He's trying to move.
The set design is real good too. I'm sorry to interrupt. The set design is awesome too.
Did you try to pay attention to see if you caught any like hidden meetings? Because I know for a fact, I'm like, the reason why they designed this is for something.
Oh, for sure. Well, they've got clearly like in this scenario, Harrow is a psychologist who seems to have like a fetish for Egyptian artifacts and lore. So maybe they're trying to like throw you off and make you think like, oh, this is where
Steven got all of his ideas for the Egyptian lore. Mark, sorry.
Framed the whole adventure.
I want to know what this painting is.
That would be the painting. When he wakes up. I'm sorry, in episode 1 where he wakes up and he's in that little
mountain
European town.
Okay.
I think that's where.
Okay. Like for the longest time, I was like, "What?" Like he keeps looking. I know what the cane is. I know what the shoes are.
Yeah.
But it was that one painting that eluded me, where I'm
Yeah.
like, "What does this painting mean? What does it represent?"
Okay, let's go ahead and get this on wax.
Ooh.
What is your prediction as far as what this is? Is this in is this in Mark's mind? Is this a trick of Harrow? Is this a trick of the gods, or is this something completely different?
I think this is like he is teetering the world of life or death. I feel like he is dying, and this is like his psyche or medicine, like
Mind trying to
like his mind trying to like heal himself up and try to get to where he needs to. This is his outer body like experience.
So maybe that's a good. I'd probably lean that
Nobody
way.
knows what happens when you die or you're about to die. But if I was like,
I definitely don't want it to be. I don't want to find out that it's me in an insane asylum. That is, nah. I'm good on that. But I can get behind that. I think that's a very good assumption, and that. Because at first I was like, no, this has got to be a trick of Harrow's or one of the gods. But then Tourette, hopefully I'm saying that right. I apologize if not, but Tourette, the hippo god, shows up at the end.
that's who it is?
Yeah, she is the goddess of pregnant women in childbirth. She was also a mother goddess who wore the solar disc and cow's horn to symbolize how she helped in the daily rebirth of the sun. And if you think about like the moon, travels through the night sky. Khonshu is the protector of, the travelers of the night. And then, the sun comes up. It's kind of like this whole cycle of death and rebirth. I think it complements your idea that this is his kind of way of his kind of like near death experience. Like Tourette is probably here to help him be reborn again. But he's gonna have to face his demons and that guilty conscience.
And then we Sorry, this is such a great scene because
I thought maybe there was-
this entire time they've been fighting and like they're
They
just
get to
so
embrace,
happy
man.
they get to see each other. They're happy. He's like, yo, what's going on? And what's great is you get to see both of them next to each other, but you can clearly tell who's who, and like even from the mannerisms.
Oh,
like
for sure.
I paid attention to like all the mannerisms
Mark's
that you
hair
said.
is pulled back. Steven's hair is disheveled.
Like you said, Steven's always like basically kind of like hunching a little
Yeah.
bit. He's always like has his hand somewhere. Mark is very confident in all of his movements.
Also, look at the way Mark moves. He's always got a fist up. He's always got a punching hand up. And
Steven's very reserved.
small details, man. And I like the fact that they both.
Why is this
don't-
one standing up?
That's what I'm saying. It's like everything about it. This like it's red. It's shaking. It's not shaking out of fear, but like get me the fuck out of here.
Mm-hmm.
You know. And the fact that they both kind of dismiss it, like, yeah, we don't even talk about that guy.
Like, no.
All right, and we are getting to the big grand finale. I don't think you could have. I don't think you could have paid me any amount of money to guess a fucking animated hippo was going to show up on the other side of that door
And he's just
be so pleasant.
That's like, yo, the reaction. That's how it is when like me and you were like reading comic books that one day, and then that lady walked in, let us know that she was in the Airbnb the entire time.
That's a story for another day, my friend.
Another day.
But fantastic, man! That episode.
Did
it
you
just
say
ended-
fantastic?
I did.
I like it for the fans.
Yeah, you were still on that. All right, Drew. What questions do you have? We've wrapped up the episode. What questions do you leave with after that? Especially this being your third viewing. Like, what do you hope that? What do you think happens in the next episode? Best prediction.
And that's what's so great about this thing is because I'm not really. I thought by the time that these episodes would air, I would have read so much Moon Knight that I would have an idea of who it was and what they're trying to pull. But since I'm lazy, I was able to enjoy it like the rest of the other Disney Plus Patreons.
So wait, do you have any questions that you want to see answered in the next episode?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I have no questions because like all my questions are. I mean, I have tons of questions, but nothing specifically in detail that would like matter. It's like it's the end all be all of like what is happening right now. It is literally like what is happening. There like nothing like. Do you know anything at all? The last 10 minutes basically undid everything that these last 3.5 episodes were establishing.
Fair enough. I guess the big questions are pretty obvious. It's like who is the third personality? Who's in that sarcophagus if it is a personality? Why is this hippo goddess here? Where is
nice.
Mark?
Like, why is she so nice?
Yeah, why is she so nice? It was this all in Mark's mind. I really doubt it. That would be one hell of a twist if it was like, no, this really it was all in Mark's mind.
My main question is, do you think Layla and Mark can work through this? Like, do you think they can work through this? Clearly, he loves her and he cares for her. And it's like, if you want to get into the nitty gritty, all right, let's get into the nitty gritty. Like, can Mark and Layla share their relationship? Can they save their relationship and share their relationship?
I mean, technically, I feel like Layla probably gets best of both worlds. She's like, well, I get my husband and this really nice, sweet guy
who knows everything about puzzles. I love puzzles.
He has the best person attributes.
Yeah, every morning wake up, do a Wordle.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then he's like, all right, well, I'm off to work.
Well, I guess the better question is, does this end happily?
No.
Does Layla and Mark get a happy ending?
When do heroes ever get like a happy ending?
I definitely don't think it's a
never.
Like Moon Knight.
No, I think he's going to be constantly going to have that. I think he's going to be like a response. Dude, I don't even want to play with the idea that they might kill this. Like, they might kill Layla. That's a possibility that she can end up dying.
I didn't even think about it. No, they're not going to kill Layla.
They're
not going to kill Layla.
I hope you record and you get the reaction here, and then when it happens, you get to play it.
I just cry on screen.
I was saying, do you think they'll take her out?
No, not at all. Do you think
She's only signed for 6 episodes.
Do you think we get? You already read her contract?
No, I did not. Like, I wish I would have read it and it said 5 episodes. Like, it's like, oh. Well, she didn't show up till the 5th episode, right? It was the 2nd episode.
No, she
didn't show up till the 2nd episode. So technically, yes, she only has 5 episodes under their contract.
Whatever. All right. Well, I guess we'll just wait and see what happens.
Actually, do you think there's another villain? Because like we had talked about this, like Hawkeye like was playing with a lot of like
swordsmen
and everything, and then
Kingpin.
all of a sudden it was Kingpin.
But they established the whole time that there was a bigger person, no pun intended, a bigger person behind the scenes.
Okay, but yeah, but here's the thing, not like to basically say that this is the first time that nobody's saying Mephisto. Like, remember, like how that was like it was like Mephisto. Everything was like, oh, it's Mephisto.
Well, I think
like
it's because they
first season Marvel Vision. Vision, WandaVision.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, that's Mephisto. You're like, that's definitely Mephisto, and it's like, nah, it's not Mephisto. And then Doctor Strange, when Spider-Man came out, everybody's like, no, it's Mephisto. He's doing Mephisto is actually Doctor Strange.
Okay, well, it's
Mephisto.
I think you haven't heard a lot of people say Mephisto because Mephisto makes sense in like the occult and like the magic realm. This is more like very kind of specific, where it's like, no, we've already established this is Egyptian gods and a mythology. So I don't think that. But I'm just curious if we'll see Ahmet, man. I want to see.
We are definitely going to see it. Why would you show me that hippo and not show me what Ahmet's going to look like?
Oh, dang, I didn't think about it. You're right. If they can show me a friendly hippo goddess with dreads, then they can definitely show me. They can definitely show me, half, half alligator, lion, hippopotamus, or whatever Ahmet is. But they could definitely show Ahmet.
Yeah, because she's up. She has she's CGI'd, and there's no lighting. It's like she's back against the white. You're like, oh, you're gonna see her.
I think by the end of it, it's definitely. I think I don't think Harrow and Mark are gonna have a fisticuffs ending. I think that'll be more so for like Ahmed and stopping Khonshu and that.
That is a good thing that you brought up. That is something you bring up because. Keep going.
I think Harrow will probably be buried with Ahmet in some way. I think that'll be like his retribution or his kind of ironic ending, where he might even get judged himself. Because he's kind of done some pretty wild, outlandish stuff here. I know that he's, on this road of reviving.
That's to bring his homegirl to the stage.
But I also don't believe that Harrow is.
As far as I'm concerned, he's like the greatest production manager I've ever met.
Yeah, I also don't fully believe that Harrow wants to revive Ahmet to also be another avatar or servant. The way he talks about servitude to Khonshu, but then also when he talks to Mark about like the peace that he got once Khonshu was out of his life.
Well, something must have happened to Harold for him to have such a personal vendetta. But it goes back to what they're fighting for. They are both on different scales. Khonshu only does vengeance after it's already done, and then he's trying to get it before it happens. So it's definitely like, all right, maybe he's been doing it he's like been doing Moon Knight for a long time. He's like, yo, nothing's changed.
And I want to see more of that. I guess I hope next episode we see some more like backstory into Harrow.
I don't think we're gonna get that.
Probably not, because I think they already kind of got the point across that like, hey, this is an example of someone that's been working for Khonshu for so long. Like you see that clearly he's not right in the head, even though like he comes off very calm, cool, collected. Like he's got a lot of pent up aggression, and maybe we'll see that like fully unleashed in these next few episodes. But all I know is this: at this point, I'm down for the ride. And they
2 episodes.
This episode definitely was a fun little loop, even though like you leave like, what the fuck did I just watch? All I can say is like, if you enjoy this sense of surprise and this sense of line of questioning, whether it's reality or not, definitely recommend checking out the Jeff Lemire, Greg Smallwood Moon Knight comic series, because it is that ramped up on steroids. So you'll definitely enjoy it. D, let's go ahead and close out. My bad. Wrong letter of the alphabet. Drew, go ahead and close us out and give me your lunar ranking for this episode.
Oh.
Which ranking this out of the 8 phases of the moon?
7. I give it 7.
Okay.
7 phases. 7 phases of the moon. What's the 7th phase?
All right, the 7th. All right, so you're giving this a third quarter
yeah,
or half moon.
It's so funny because we are actually in the 3rd quarter of the Moon Knight series.
Okay. All right. I will give this also a 3rd quarter ranking, a 7th phase, if not closer to the a full 8, man. Like I said, this episode just had so much.
Just missing the suit.
Yeah, which would be a waning crescent moon. I'd give this a waning crescent moon. But I'd give this a full 8 out of 8 phases of the moon. I know that this one, we didn't get the suit, we didn't get to see Moon Knight, but they accomplished everything else, like giving us action, suspense. Also like throwing you for a loop and subverting any expectations. And I think from here we've now entered like the 2nd phase of like this series, right? Like where it's like, we did the whole introduce you to the characters. Now we're gonna have some fun with it. Now, like, this is where we're gonna go. If we're on a roller coaster, now we're going through the loops. We're doing the tight turns, and I want to see how they land.
Okay,
I mean, we've talked about how it always feels like sometimes these shows wait until the very last minute to do something like this, and then they have to wrap up very quickly. And sometimes it feels a little lackluster. I'm hoping next episode does a good job of getting us set up for the finale, and then the finale can get some time to like breathe.
Yeah. Have you noticed yet that every episode ends with a different phase of the moon as well?
Oh,
Have you picked up on that? Like every episode that ends, there's always a different phase of the moon. So I was like, oh shit, I gotta tell that to Beat next time I see him.
I don't remember what that one.
And here we are.
By the time that we're done with this series, we'll know all 8 phases of the moon like the back of our hand. So,
are you is this a character that you would want to see more in Avengers? Do you want solo stuff? Like now that he's getting his much like hype. I started reading the Adam McKay stuff, and I'm not a fan of the new Moon Knight stuff that's being written.
why?
Just from the tone and the art of just like
Is the art at least decent?
It's great. It's good. It just changes the whole tone of the book.
So
You have Greg Smallwood with his colors. Like you have the Warren Ellis and well as the Jeff Lemire Moon Knights. That has a very pulpy. Mike Mignola, very like just symmetrical, very layered, just great. This, just like in your face, like feels like a comic book.
I think
Does that
I know.
make sense?
I've known you long enough, so I think I know what you mean.
It looks like a
comic
book.
But here's what we'll do. I'll pull up one of the issues, and I want you to explain that in more detail. But for now, I want to look to our listeners, and I want to hear their opinion, man. We've done a lot of talking.
Yeah, we want to know what kind of fans you have. What type of fan are you?
We've talked
Are you a ride or die fan?
We've talked a lot these last 4 episodes, and I feel like we've thrown a lot at the wall, right? I mean, some of this stuff has stuck, but I mean, it just comes with the territory when you're doing like
when
a
you're
commentary.
dealing with Drew.
Yeah, when you're dealing with Drew, when you're doing a commentary series like this, where it's a week in and week out on one topic. So I want to look to our listeners and invite them to share their opinion, predictions, especially as we start getting to the finale of the series. How are you liking the series? What's been your favorite episode, favorite moment? Or tell us your gripes, man. Maybe this hasn't been your cup of tea. Would love to hear your thoughts.
Maybe not enough moon in the Moon Knight.
Yeah. Even though I feel like the first episode or 2 gave us
like so many moonshots.
8 moonshots in one episode.
8 moonshots.
Anyway, send us your thoughts via DM on social media, whether it be Instagram or Twitter, or write a short email to theshortboxjacks@gmail.com. Other than that, there you have it, Shortbox Nation. Thank you for hanging out with us this week, but it's time to close out the show. Next week, you'll get to hear our reaction and commentary for Moon Knight Episode 5, and a Doctor Strange comic spotlight episode to celebrate the upcoming Doctor Strange movie. Both of those will drop on Wednesday. If you want to hear all of our episodes the second we post them before anyone else, consider becoming a Patreon subscriber and avoid having to wait a whole week.
Don't consider it, just do it.
Yeah, just do it. All right? Don't wait a whole week to hear from us. Sign up for our Patreon using the link in this episode's show notes and support the podcast for as little as $1. Help us keep it going and enjoy special rewards and epic bragging rights, and also this awesome theme song to come into the show with.
What does this button do?
No, this applies.
Oh, what's this button do?
No, come on. All right. God damn it.
Comic book.
You're not.
Let me do a voiceover. Let me see that. Okay.
Listen,
press the
Dee.
D. Go, give me the D.
All right. Go to patreon.com/shortbox right now. Pause. Go to patreon.com/shortbox right now, or close the link, or click the link in this episode show notes to sign up. In the meantime, give us a follow on social media if you aren't part of the bandwagon already. But most importantly, take care of yourselves. Have a great day. And please continue to make mine and yours Shortbox. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.
What's the D do? No, that's the B. I want to know what the D does.
The D is just these are both the bumps.
Champion season.
Wow.
It's been a while since we played that.
Dang. Is this going on post?